Oh, fancy now.
That's new.
That is new.
I guess they upgraded.
Yeah. Okay, first thing we had on the agenda was show and or tell. So just an open discussion time. If anybody has done something recently that you've done to prepare your home or your family that you want to share with the group. We had some people share some photos of things last time. So we thought it would be good to put this time out there for anybody that wants to share. It's okay if you don't have anything.
Well, I just wanted to, Fred mentioned that we practiced with an FRS. So I had purchased 2 of these and had no way of really knowing if they were working other than to practice with Fred. And we both took the instructions and read them, and took probably about 15 minutes just on our own to try to figure out the different bells and whistles, buttons and stuff. And then we tried communicating. We just stayed with channel 1. And it was so clear. And the last practice we did was Fred was inside his home and I was inside my home, and it was really easy to understand, which was very encouraging for the training that's coming up on the 12th. Yes.
I was wondering, did you remove the tones or did you use the ones that come from the factory?
It must have used the ones from the factory. I don't remember us discussing Fred tones. I don't
So,
know.
When you're done talking and release the button, it kind of goes beep beep.
no, that's not it. It turns out that there is some suboral tones that are used to separate different manufacturers' devices.
Mm.
So if you were to try and talk to a different manufacturer, they wouldn't work because they have these subaudible tones that are transmitted. So you might look at your instructions, and we'll be talking about this on June 12th, but you need to remove those tones.
Yeah, I don't remember the instructions having that in it, but
I just got mine right here. Hold on.
It may be on page 700.
the only manual I have and the only one I could find online is about maybe 10 pages. It's very short.
It's this little thing right here. It's not showing. There, come on. There it is. I guess I have to be in the picture. There
Yes,
it is.
that's the manual I have. Yes.
So
Matt
if you-
Albertson, mic check.
Hey, Matt, we can hear you.
Hey, Matt.
What the hell happened to my webcam?
We cannot see you.
So I'm looking at it right now. I remember, okay. It's 8 and 9. It's called privacy codes.
Oh, privacy codes. Okay.
Those need to be removed.
All right. And it explains very clearly how to do that, right?
Of course not.
Well, I guess that will be
By
the first thing.
Chinese, what do you expect?
Well, maybe on the 12th, someone can help me figure that out.
That's why it specifically says, bring your directions with you. I know how to
Okay.
do it on the DeWalt. I don't know about the other devices.
All right, that sounds reasonable. Any chance you could share with us which, what channel this neighborhood is supposed to be using?
Well, it turns out that the different neighborhoods have different channels. I will send out, you'll get a handout
Uh-huh.
that shows that. But I'm looking at this, and Active Bethel uses 6, Industrial Corridor uses 7, River Road uses 4, Santa Clara uses 2, and Train Song uses 1.
Thank you.
So you will get this. Let's see if it's gonna do it. Nope, can't do it with a fake background.
Yeah,
You'll get a handout with this
Yeah.
there.
that's good. Thank you, Jerry. That's really helpful. Now I can relate to it because I've actually touched one of these.
The hardest thing I found was figuring out what the transmit button was.
Hmm,
The one
That
that's
big-
not labeled.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's an anatomically weird radio, I can tell you that.
is that this one that
Yeah,
Yeah.
the big
The
black one in the middle with no.
you don't even
label.
know is a button,
Yeah, exactly.
right? Yeah, okay. Wow, I feel like I'm part of the club again. I mean, finally. Maybe later I'll have a couple more questions on the radio things, but I don't want to hang things up. Oh, so I had that, and then several weeks ago, because I think it was Matt, actually, he had given me some really helpful guidelines on what to look for in an FRS, and he said it would be really helpful to have the capability of knowing the weather or get that in
Yeah.
that channel, which the DeWalt doesn't have that.
I
So
don't-
I got a rather inexpensive radio. It's solar powered if you need it to be.
Yeah,
And
those are fine.
pardon me?
Those are fine. Those have their purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just wanted to share that this was 20 something dollars on Amazon, and it has an AM FM radio, and then you can select the weather station, which I can imagine in an emergency is rather useful.
Yeah, and also the AM radios are really good to see. Walk around your house and you'll see what devices are leaking signaling.
Okay.
You'll get a buzzing noise from things that are radiating signals.
Is that also referred to as dirty electricity? Do you know? It doesn't matter.
I don't know, I'd call that.
Yeah.
Sometimes the little wall warts and the little, specifically the little chargers,
Mhm.
really emit a lot of RF interference.
Right, okay. So this is also a crank operated radio.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's awesome.
thank you.
Would anybody else like to share anything they've done recently?
The eWeb Pledge to Prepare program. I won the April drawing. And
That's
got
awesome.
they sent me a hand crank flashlight and cell phone charger.
Nice.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I also, a week or so ago, got out my home emergency generator, just to fire it up, make sure it still works and run some gas through it.
That's perfect.
Oh,
Yeah, it's good to do maintenance on those things once or twice a year. Make sure they're still up and running.
Specifically, if you put gas from the gas station that has ethanol in it, that will get dirty and it may gum everything up. I highly suggest you find gas stations that have pure gasoline that they sell. I mean, Home Depot sells it in little cans for $200 a can or something. But there's a couple of gas stations around Eugene that actually carry pure gas.
Like
Wow.
Curtis Pumpkin Center down there on River Road.
There's also the Chevron up on 99 and Irvington, I think it is.
Irving.
Irving and 99. It's premium 92 octane, non-alcohol. It lasts a lot longer than the ethanol stuff.
Do you have to add stabilizer to that type of gasoline?
No, that's the advantage.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. All right. The next item that we had up, which kind of segues nicely from the radio communication, is just a reminder that we have the communication field day coming up. And Jerry and Dwight, I wanted to check in with you guys. I'm picking up the ARCO banner on Friday from Zainin, the board member who has it, and then I'm going to drop it off to Dwight so that you have it for the day of the event, because I'm not able to make it that day. So
Oh, you'll be missed.
yeah, we're traveling and we're getting in super late. I'm gonna, if I am able to wake up and make it there, I'm gonna try to come, but I don't anticipate we're gonna make it there. So that will be fun. And I do have the link to sign up, which I'll post in the chat for everybody. Have the flyer here too. I wanted to see if there are any questions from anybody about the event that day, since we have all of our organizers here to talk about it. Bigger.
I think I registered for it already.
I haven't checked. I know we're up to about, as of Friday, I think we had 25
Oh, good.
Wow.
or 20, I think. So Dwight, did you get my email about participating and setting stuff up?
I did, and I think you asked me to be there, what, 9:15?
Perfect.
All right,
I intend to be there. I can't drive right now because of this hip surgery. And I'm hoping that a neighbor will be working with me that day on it, and I'll get a ride from her. But yeah, could I ask you a question? And I know we'll probably go over it at that workshop, but this has come up several times, and I know it's a concern about from people that when you have a wildfire situation where the air is very smoky, that can affect negatively the FRS performance.
I don't have an answer for that, but I can look that up.
I think that's an important thing for us to know the answer to, given that that's probably one of the top worries right now.
Back in the day of the fire, or the month or week or so after the fire, there was still smoke lingering around, and there was an email in the Valley Radio Club reflector about the effects of smoke on radio signals. I have to go back and look on it. It's extremely deep physics, but I don't know, maybe I could go back and look at it again.
Yeah, and I don't know if on the 12th, there'll be time to really explain for people like me who don't know anything about it and have apparently no great aptitude for it, how exactly the us talking on our FRSs gets picked up by a ham or other people so that we're noticed. And I don't need an answer today necessarily, but I just, it would be helpful to be able to explain it in simple terms to people who don't know this.
Don't worry, we've got this all set up for the practice.
Right.
And in fact, there is a hierarchy. So at some point, people with the FRS will talk to someone like me, who is a district network operator.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll listen on the FRS and I'll transmit it up the chain via ham radio. And that then goes to Matt, actually, who is the Northwest MCOM manager, network manager. He'll contact the city and get back to us. So it's all been designed.
Yeah.
Does that make you feel better?
Yes, it does. And I kind of imagine that to be the case, but so far I think Jackie and I aren't hearing of an abundance of people who are hams in this area. And that, it's just going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. Hopefully it sparks, I hate to use that term, but hopefully it generates some additional interest for people who are good at this. And
so it turns out that out of those 20, 5 had both ham radios and FRS radios.
right.
Wow.
So we're really looking forward to it. And once the meeting is over and I have some time, I'm going to actually send an email. There's actually a way to map the neighborhood and find out all the ham radio operators in the area. And I will look them up and send an email and ask them if they would please cooperate in the Northwest District
Wonderful.
emergency communications.
That's great.
That's exciting to hear that we can access something like that or contact people to get them interested or involved.
You know, the other thing is there's some curmudgeons in the group who don't want to be part of anything. So there's two places where a ham radio operator, ham radio is a public communications. You don't talk politics, you don't talk anything about money. It's supposed to be just friendly. So both the ARRL and the US government and another site called, 3 places, QRZ, all have ways to look up the local addresses of every ham radio operator.
Great.
And that's information that can be shared with neighbors?
Sure, it's public knowledge.
Oh, okay.
You
That's
don't
great.
have, I don't think you even have to be a ham to look it up, but certainly on both ARRL and QRZ, those sites, you do have to log in with your call sign.
Awesome. Exciting to know there's a network out there. We just have to organize it,
Yeah.
get it together.
The other thing that I've done is I bought a GMRS radio as the Santa Clara net control. That gives me, instead of the 1 or 2 watts of power that you have on the FRS, that gives me 5 watts of power that
And a
I
much
can
taller
use.
antenna.
Yes.
Yes.
So as net control, and in fact, I think Matt and I actually tried it. What do you live, about 5 miles from me, 4 miles from me?
Yeah, Maxwell
Some-
Road. Where are you again, Jerry?
Irvington and Northwest Expressway.
Irvington and Northwest. Yeah, that's pretty far out there. That's
So we were able to talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
I walked out on the front lawn. They couldn't hear me when I was in the house, but from the front lawn, we were able to communicate.
just barely. Yeah.
And Matt, you're near Maxwell, did you say?
Yeah, he had a handy talkie, and I had another GMRS radio. I don't have a license for the GMRS radio, so I can't legally transmit yet,
Right.
but I can receive just fine. It's perfectly legal to receive, and I
Yep.
had these two 10-foot sections of nesting pole and stacked them on top of each other and
Mm-hmm.
mounted the antenna way up
So-
the top of that and pointed it in the air, and Jerry could talk to me with his handy talkie. That was pretty cool.
In a couple months, the FCC is lowering the cost of the GMRS license from $70 to $35.
And raising the ham from $15 to $35. Yes.
Right.
So, coincidence? I think not.
Well, it's comforting to know, Matt, that you can probably easily eavesdrop on any Channel 4 hysteria that's going on FRSs over here.
So you guys realize that the FRS radio is used mostly by families at event parks, you know, like Disneyland, or when the whole family goes to the the malls, the
Mhm.
secondhand store malls. That's so that the parents and the kids can communicate with each other.
Right.
And the
Heck of
reason,
a lot of heck of a lot of FRS radios are now marketed as kids' toys. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
there may
So
be
if
some-
you actually drive by the, where's that, up in, is that by Fraser, is it? Or what, where's the secondhand along the freeway there up north? You'll hear a lot of traffic.
Ugh.
But the only thing, that's if you remove those signaling things that I have. The whole idea of those signals are they're suboral. So if you and I have the same ones, we'll hear each other. But if Matt were to have a different one, he wouldn't hear it, or I wouldn't hear his conversations.
Right. I had been told by someone to be sure to turn off, I guess, something in order to shut out outside conversations. I think that would have otherwise.
No, you want to remove them, not put them on there. So
Right. That's yeah.
That's that page 8 business
Right.
we were just
Yes.
reverting to.
Yes.
Well, exciting. That is good to know that you guys are able to communicate and that operation's going on. That's exciting that you were able to make that connection. I did post in the chat the flyer too, in case anybody hasn't seen that PDF and you want to share it with somebody. And then the link to register is also in the chat for everybody too.
Okay.
All right. So coming up next, there's an event coming up in September that I wanted to share with you guys. I'm going to attempt to play a YouTube video over this. I don't know if it's going to work, but it's just about 40 seconds long. So we'll see if this will work here. All right, I don't know if the sound is going to come through, so give me a thumbs up if you are able to hear the sound. Can you hear anything? Okay, let's try one thing here.
Bottom left, you've got it on mute, right below, bottom left. There it is.
No, that's up. Let's see, it's coming out of my computer speakers. Let me try this. Can you hear that?
No.
No,
All right, well, I don't know if that's gonna work. So I will just give you an overview of what it says, but I will send the link so that you guys can watch it as well. On, let me find my notes again. On September 12th, which is a Sunday, the Southeast Neighbors are organizing they're calling it a citywide disaster preparedness event. And the event will include a drill with participants canvassing the Amazon neighborhood, where they will have simulated emergency needs planted around. So I believe they're going to make signs and put them in people's yards. And the sign may say there's a trapped person in this house, or there's a car accident over here. And they're going to practice communicating over radios and reporting back different disasters. So it's definitely going to build on the event that you guys are hosting here in June. And I think we're going to start seeing a lot of these different events popping up around the city. There is going to be, I think, another citywide event in October. I don't have full details on that one yet, but I heard about it recently at the CERT steering committee meeting.
that's nationwide, actually.
Oh, is it nationwide? Okay.
Yeah, that's the great shakeout.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. So the city, I guess, is going to participate in that event. So that will be cool that we get to practice all these little pieces leading up to that time. It looks like the event is free to register for. I just registered for it right before this meeting, and it's just your name and email, contact information. So I'll make sure to send out that link to everybody.
Are you talking now about the September 12th one, or are you
Yes.
talking? Yes. Okay.
Yep, September 12th, and I'll post those in the chat too, but I'll also put them in the meeting notes. All right, there's the YouTube video, and then that's the link to sign up. So I'll send those out. So that's going to be just another exercise that's going on. I'm going to try to participate in that one, and I encourage everybody else to if they're available. Does anybody have questions about that? I don't have a lot of other details other than that.
No, I think the one on the 12th is one that David Monk is involved in helping set up. And I had thought that originally it was just for that neighborhood, but he made it clear that they do want people, a wider swath of people to come in. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I got that information from Don Matheny, who's in the Southeast
Okay.
neighborhood as well. I think they're very close, collaborating with one another.
They are, yes.
All right. Hey, Jan, welcome.
Go.
All right, next up on the agenda, so a mention of the Map Your Neighborhood program. We received word at the last CERT meeting that the state of Oregon is coming out with their own version of the Map Your Neighborhood program. I think the program that's currently out there is based on the Washington program that they've released. And the CERT committee is looking for a couple of people to try out to pilot that program basically. And it's going to come out later in the year. More details to come on that program. We don't have much information on that yet, other than we imagine it will be branded a little bit differently and some of the handouts might be a little bit different. We're not sure if any of the training materials will be different, but wanted to give a heads up that that's coming. Any questions or additions that anybody's heard on that?
Mhm.
No, okay. All right, next up I have event planning and a July brainstorming session. So I think everybody's getting a little zoomed out at this point after meeting online so many times. So I would like to propose canceling our July virtual meeting together on that first Tuesday. And maybe if anybody's interested in joining at Emerald Park to have an in-person kind of planning session for the rest of the year. Yeah, to just bounce some ideas off of each other. And, you know, we've now have a lot of different goals and a lot of resources that everybody has collected over the last 6 to 9 months. So I think it would be good to get together and think about some events that we would like to hold in the coming months and some different topics that we'd like to see, maybe some workshops that we'd like to put together. But instead of kind of scrambling every month to think what topics are we going to talk about next, I think it would be nice to lay out a plan so that neighbors kind of know what to expect and where they can get involved. So we're thinking about maybe Sunday the 11th around noon. If anybody has thoughts or questions about that. Excitement.
I just am hoping it's not 100+ degrees.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. You know, as we get closer, I'm sure that there will be an agenda that gels a little, and it'd be very strange to meet people in person.
Definitely.
Time.
Yeah, but I think it would be nice. There's plenty of space at the park. We can get some picnic tables to kind of space out and just bounce some ideas off of each other. But I know some people enjoy that planning process. Other people don't. So if you want to attend, you're welcome to, but certainly no obligation. All right. And then the last item that I have on the agenda is to mention a Eugene firework ban that I heard about recently. Last week, the Eugene City Council voted 6-0 to consider a ban on the use and sale of fireworks in South Eugene. And I sent out a link to a news article about it. They're going to have a public hearing on June 21st to discuss a code amendment to put that in place. So I wanted to just bring it to the group and see what your thoughts were. Do you feel like this impacts our preparedness efforts? Is this something that you would support being a River Road neighborhood resident? I just wanted to share that information and see what this group thought about it. Jan?
Just to clarify, is that an ordinance that says you can't sell and use fireworks in South Eugene?
That's my understanding. The current proposal is for South Eugene only, and they want to ban the use. And then in the future, I think they want to ban the sale. Their argument was, why would you sell something that you can't use in that location? So yeah, I think it's both use and sale in just South Eugene
Hmm.
as of this
Yeah,
point.
that's
But
going to be impossible to enforce.
Exactly.
You know, there's gonna be stands all up and down 99 and then, you know, and Junction City and Crestwell and everybody place else. And people are gonna buy them and they're gonna be using it.
Right. I think I think the people who drafted it are aware of that. I think it's an attempt to start educating people that this is a problem, to be having people using fireworks when we're increasingly at such great risk. So I think that probably what will start happening, and I hope, or I think it would probably come from fire, is a massive educational program. I don't know. I'm just surmising.
And
Because
just
the
because,
excuse me, the enforcement part is really weak in Eugene. I mean, I don't think there's a
Well,
lot.
and I know the rodeo's going on at that July 4th, so I'm sure they're going to have fireworks going.
but just because people might ignore it doesn't mean it's not a good idea. I think what Charles had said is to get people used to it. I wouldn't live in South Eugene up in the hills if you paid me, and people have got to get used to that. I think it's a good idea myself. I hadn't heard of that, but that's just sensible.
they did say in the article that what the city councilor who suggested this ban said that Hilliard and 30th Street, where fireworks traditionally, I guess they've had a big firework tent there traditionally. They would like to recommend that the fire department use that space to provide public education about the hazards of fireworks as a replacement for that. So that was something that they mentioned in the meeting. And I do think the question was asked about who's going to pay for that enforcement and how are you really going to enforce it? And I didn't hear an answer to that, but I know they were asking the question.
Right. I think, just judging from threads that appear on Nextdoor and so on, I mean, it is a hot topic. There's no two ways about it. It is like guns, it's just something that people feel very passionately about and so on. But there's so much fire fuel around us, fire's fuel, I guess it's called. And I know the other night here, there were some fireworks that went off and it seems like there are people who just love to do that around 11:30 or midnight. And it really is upsetting to a lot of people. So I think for a variety of reasons, it's going to be an increasing call, both fire risk, the issue of health and PTSD, et cetera, and that it's not good for the natural environment either, the animals. There was also something shared at the last NLC meeting from one of the representatives there that evidently there are materials in the fireworks that have been shown to contaminate water supplies. So we are also dealing with something that maybe have some toxins that have some other effects. It's anyway.
It's interesting, yeah. So that meeting is on June 21st that they're having a public hearing about that. And I think the different neighborhoods I don't know where their request came from, and Charles, maybe I think they're asking different neighborhood organizations to sign on in support of that.
Mhm.
And I know the Southeast neighbors have passed that they support that, and the friendly area neighbors. So River Road Neighborhood Organization will be discussing that, I'm sure,
I'm
at
sure.
the next board meeting.
Board meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the intention from the people who are organizing this is that as many of the neighborhood associations that could sign up and support, the better. But we'll see.
Any other comments about that one?
I always thought it's mostly the fireworks. A lot of the fireworks that get shot off in the middle of the night, or a lot of times they're illegal fireworks anyway. And isn't it still that in Oregon, the legal fireworks they can't move by themselves, so rockets and Roman candles and stuff are illegal, and then I just, in my neighborhood, I just look out my front door and see all these rockets going up hundreds of feet in the air and have big, bursts of stars and all that stuff. And I think that's all totally illegal.
Yeah, and that's where the enforcement issue really needs to be talked out. I think there does need to be more education. I would like to hear fire explain those differences, the legal versus the illegal, and where the risks are and what they can do about it when people clearly don't care about their safety or well-being of their neighbors. I mean, but who are you going to call and what's going to happen?
Well, that's the issue. People are gonna do what they're gonna do. And the funding of the Eugene police, right now, they can't handle the calls they got, so enforcement of that's gonna be probably nil.
Well, it's a lot to be revealed.
Definitely. All right. So that was the end of our agenda for this evening. We cruised through everything. Yes, we'll open it up. Charlesy?
Oh, I just wanted to say that what was also revealed this last week at a work group of the city council, where fire did make a presentation, is that Eugene Springfield Fire is going to unveil in the month of June their evacuation plans for Eugene. And it will show all the zones that they've set up for all the neighborhoods, all of Eugene. And it will include identified safe places, help me, Ed, what are they called? Safe zones or
Safety zones, or let me see.
safety zones? Right.
You mean fire, I can't, yeah.
Evacuation routes.
But yes, there are going to be evacuation routes and then these identified safe areas where people might go if they can't evacuate out, is my assumption. And, it's going to provide a lot of information certainly for this committee to dive into. And that might be a big part of what we want to talk about in the planning event in July. How do we deal with that information? And certainly I know Jackie and I had talked a bit about even driving those routes, because it can happen, not that their plan would be faulty necessarily, but it can happen that maps incorrectly show routes that in fact aren't viable. And from firsthand experience, my recommendation would be try them all, try it all, practice. Don't wait until the day of to find out that the road you thought you could use has been cut
Hasn't
off.
built on. Yeah, it's not a real road anymore.
So
Yeah.
I was surprised at that announcement. Actually, I did not know that was coming. Well, why would I? But
Well, let me just say, Charles, it was
Yeah.
safety zones so I was in wildland fire for quite a lot of years, and a wildland fire safety zone is a place where you can sit, like you can basically sit on the ground and survive where the fire goes around you, but you don't get so hot that you burn up.
right.
And that's and you don't have to use any special protective equipment or anything to survive in a safety zone.
And evidently in Paradise, I do not have firsthand knowledge of this, but there were people who did survive because they were able to get to areas like that, probably expansive parking lot areas and open space of some sort, I imagine, that enabled that.
I've picked out a few places in
Yeah.
the north part of Bethel that would work for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. And then the other thing, let's see, about escape routes, it's like evacuation routes, you know, I mean, just like, remember Katrina, so I wasn't there, but the whole thing about Katrina was if they could have evacuated New Orleans, if they'd started like about 3 or 4 days before the hurricane hit. But
Mhm.
then like the day of the hurricane, there's just not enough
Right.
roads. Even if you change all the highways so that nobody can come into town, but you just use the inbound and the outbound lanes to get out, then there's still a limit to how many cars can go through on a route like that. And so if you're gonna evacuate, if it's really hard to evacuate if you just have a day. You know,
Yeah.
a town like Eugene probably couldn't evacuate in one day.
No, there's just 5 north and 5 south, really.
Well,
I mean, we could go east and west, but the major highways are 5 south and north, and you're never gonna put all those people on that freeway.
right. So there's a limited capacity to the what'll probably be the evacuation route.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And we don't know yet what level of detail or thoroughness there is in what they'll reveal. I think probably we're going to have to keep pushing ahead and asking questions and insisting on as much detail as it takes to get us to where we have a plan.
And one other thing I've been thinking about, you know, is flooding. And so River Road, Bethel, and Santa Clara, somewhat similar risk of flooding. And so, you know, the thing about floods, you know, you want to go to high ground. So where's the high ground in the Bethel, River Road, and Santa Clara neighborhood? And my conclusion, you know, I've got limited data and I haven't thought about it for a long time, but I think the high ground in these neighborhoods is the belt line. And there's not really a mountain or anything we can go to, but we just have to worry about the evacuation, people evacuating and stuff. But the Katrina, a lot of people got up on freeways and kind of hung out, you know, because there's flooding below them.
Wow. I remember that too. I remember the videos.
Yeah.
The
So-
overpasses were the high ground.
Yeah.
What's that?
What is that?
The overpasses were the
Yeah.
high ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in an earthquake, those might not be there, which will trigger the flood.
Well, yeah, don't go off the end there, Charles. Don't go off the deep end.
You can't win, you can't break even, and you can't get out of the game.
So we could start building a barge.
There we go. I actually think the Albertsons parking lot next to the Beltline there, that big, huge parking lot would be a good, safe space.
Which Albertsons?
The one on River Road in Santa Clara.
Oh, okay.
At least we've had available food.
That's a good point. Anyway, folks, I have a meeting on the hour that I need to do some prep for. So thank you, and we'll see you all a week from Saturday.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry.
Have a good evening, Jerry.
Thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have items they want to share? Topics? Jan?
Are you
Yeah,
coming?
I would. I want to mention that on the 12th, June 12th, which is a Saturday, I think it's the same day, there's this event at the Grange, the Irvington Grange. It's a different time. At 2 o'clock, I'm going to have a show and tell here at my place. And it's about kind of the coming together, the talk and show and tell will be the kind of convergence of preparedness and resilience. And what I have here at my place is just a lot of site features that lend themselves to a more prepared and more resilient property. That I've had tours here for years. I've had thousands of people literally visit my place over the years. And there's a lot to look at that can contribute to a lifestyle and a home and a neighborhood for being more prepared and resilient, like food production, rainwater collection, solar energy, and food storage, these different kind of aspects. So I would invite everybody here, and maybe I can send that info to you, Jackie. I don't know, maybe you can pass that on. But also in that info that I send to Jackie, I will include a link to kind of an essay that I've been writing, and I'm hoping that it will be accepted by the Register Guard, and it could be supporting this event that I have planned. And it's about preparedness and resilience. I know I've made some effort to kind of explain that, and I think that this essay will be helpful. And actually, there's 2 tours. One here is at my place, and then a week later at 11 o'clock in the morning, that's the following, that would be June 19th at 11 in the morning. And once again, I can put all this in a message, but we'll have a tour of East Blair Housing Co-op. And, you know, when we talk about mapping your neighborhood and getting to know our neighbors, East Blair has as an example that shows what a lot of this can look like when people even go beyond the preparedness aspect. I think preparedness can be an entryway into a whole huge, expansive set of actions that people can take. And my place is cool, but East Blair is a whole different scale because there's like 40 people who live there, and they can synchronize the land use, and they can synchronize their community to be more prepared and more resilient because they've got 8 properties. So that's going to be real interesting too. And it gives a little bit of a preview of what a much higher level of social cohesion can look like. And not to suggest that East Blair is like some kind of utopia, because of course it's not. But there are a lot of very interesting features at East Blair that neighbors here in River Road could do also. So we want to point that out, you know, for reducing eco footprints and for being more prepared and to be more resilient. So this is really awesome stuff. I think everybody here would be real interested in this. And I'll send this out to Jackie, and she'll pass it on. And I would encourage everyone here to pass it on too, because it's really in the community interest in lots of different ways.
Awesome. Thank you, Jan. I'll definitely share that with everybody. Dwight, did you have something?
Now, were you coming by this Friday night?
Yes, this Friday.
Okay, I probably won't be here. Just leave it on the porch.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I'll shoot you an email or a text and let you know when I drop it.
Okay, all right. See
All
you
right.
guys. Okay.
Thanks, Dwight. All right, it sounds like we're time to wrap.
Yeah.
So we will let everybody go for this evening, and I'll send out some notes with a reminder. Jan, I think you missed the beginning. We're going to skip our virtual meeting in June, in July, and we're going to have an in-person kind of brainstorming session at the Park District. So we'll have those details in the notes.
Sounds good. I think everybody's eager to emerge.
Yeah.
Fred, did you have your hand raised?
Nope, I'm just waving by.
Oh,
Oh,
All right, everybody. Well, enjoy the rest of your night. We'll talk to you all soon.
yeah. Good night.
and Jackie, when